Hello friends, welcome to the 65th session of Hybris tutorial. In this session, we are going to learn what are events and event listener in Hybris. We are going to learn where actually we use the events and event listener concept in Hybris. We will see the practical example where Hybris has already used this concept, and then finally we will create one practical example where we will be creating the events and event listener from the scratch. So guys, event and event listener concept we use very frequently in our project, so this video is going to be very informative for you. So guys, before starting anything, before writing the definition of events and event listeners, let's see one practical example of events and event listener in Hybris. If I show you the registration flow, you can see I have the registration flow, and guys, I have already the Hybris suite with me. In case you don't have the Hybris suite, you can click on the link which is given in the description box as well as on the top right corner, and you can also get the Hybris suite and can do the B2C accelerator setup. Since I have already done the B2C accelerator setup, that is why I am able to open this April UK local URL. Right, in case you don't have this setup, you can also do this setup in your system. You can watch our video. The link of video is given in description box as well as on the top right corner in card section, so you can watch that video and can do the B2C accelerator setup in your system as well. Okay, so I was showing you the registration flow where we are actually using the event and event listener concept. Guys, this is the login page controller. So here we have one API do register, and how I have opened this pop-up, I have just pressed the control O, then I have opened this pop-up. So this is the do register API. Okay, if I just show you this flow, how the registration works. So registration means, for example, let's say I am doing any registration, like I am doing a registration. First name is say Amandeep, last name is say Singh. Okay, and then the email address, let's say hybristube events at gmail.com. Let's take a very simple password. Okay, and then I'm just checking these checkboxes, and once I will click on this register button, guys, then my flow will come into this API. I will show you as well by debugging this code, but firstly I want to show you where actually we are using the concept of event and event listener. Then it will be very easy for us to write the definition of event and event listener. So as you can see, the request will come to this API. Then we have this process register user request. If I go inside this, we have this process register user request, right, API in the abstract register page controller. So if I go over here, guys, here you can see we are calling the customer facade. So customer facade is basically this default customer facade, and this register API we are calling. Here we are just populating the data, whatever the data we are basically sending from the front end. This complete data we are basically setting over here in the register data object. So you can see from the form we are just extracting like title code, password, email, last name, first name, whatever we are basically setting at the front end, we are extracting over here and are setting in the register data object. Then we are calling this register API, which is present in the default customer facade. If I open the default customer facade, guys, you can see this is the register API. Here I am calling one service class, and guys, from here you can just see the flow as well, how my flow was going. So I had the controller class, right, and from the controller my flow basically came to the facade layer, and from the facade my now control is going to the service layer, and you can see this is the service layer to which I am going. And in the service layer, guys, you can see over here we have one method get event service dot publish event, right? If I just see this get event service, what it is, so it is basically one event service. This is an instance of event service, right? And this event service instance we are using over here, right? So you can clearly see, as soon as I click over here in the registry API, in the service class, here we are calling event service dot publish event. And what we are doing over here, I am just instantiating one instance of register event, right? So I am calling one event, okay, and in this event I am populating the customer data. You can see this is the customer data. If I open this register event, guys, you will see it is nothing, it is just a Pojo class. So you can see this is a register event dot java class. Okay, so if I go inside this, right, you can see this is just a register event. Now if I show you, there is one listener class as well. So what I am saying, guys, as soon as the flow will come over here, what it will do, this event will internally basically find the listener, corresponding listener. And you can see here we have a class register event listener. Okay, so this is a listener.java class. And what this listener is doing, this is basically waiting for an event of type register event. As soon as it basically gets the event which is of type register event from any of the flow in our functionality, this listener gets called automatically. Okay, this is how basically event and event listeners are working. So from the facade layer, you can see we call the service layer, and from the service layer we are just publishing one event, register event. As soon as this event is published, automatically the listener basically listens it. And this event is nothing, this is basically a carrier in which we send the message, or in which we send the data. So this listener class is called, and this listener class is basically, extending this abstract accelerator site event listener. And here we have one default overridden method on site event. Okay, and here in this method, guys, we are writing our logic, right? We were doing the registration, so we did the registration, and then we have to send the registration email as well. So why this listener class is basically created? This listener class was created to write the business logic for sending the registration email to the customer. So just try to understand, guys, when we do the registration, our primary focus is to register this customer, to save the details of this customer into Hybris database. That we did, right? That we did over here. Yeah, like you can see here, I am calling the service method like this. I am called the service method. In this register customer, we are saving the customer details into the database. But then we have one subsidiary task as well. Subsidiary task was that, I have to send the registration email as well, right? Registration email as well to the customer. So that is a subsidiary task, that's not a primary task. So it means, guys, for the subsidiary task we basically use the concept of event and event listener. So in very simple ways, if I say you that, if you want to run a subsidiary process on any another thread apart from the main thread, then we use the concept of event and event listener. So it is basically, we can say, for exchanging the information between the loosely components. Okay, so this loosely component definition is very important for you. Okay, so here, as soon as this publish event method is called, this register event is fired, then we have a listener which is basically listening this, and this on-site event method will get called. And here you can see, guys, we are creating one business process. I have already covered the business process topic in a separate video. In case you have not watched that video, you can click on the link which is given in the description box of this video, as well as on the top right corner. Then you can clearly see how the business process actually works. In brief, I can just tell you that this business process is basically, basically for sending the email to the customer who is actually doing the registration. I will explain you a bit more on this as soon as I will show you the code in the debug mode. But what I will do now, guys, I will just enable the debug mode. So I have just enabled the debug mode, and you can see now my debug mode has been enabled, right? So you can see my mode is now enabled. So what I will do now, guys, I have just added one debug point over here. Let's see whether the debug point is present over here as well or not. So we can just see over here. I'm going to open implementation, then abstract register page controller. Yes, we have the debug modes. So what I will do, guys, now I will quickly click on the register button. So as soon as I click on the register button, guys, you can see now I have called this API. So this API is called. Here we are doing the validations, different type of validation, whether the email format is correct or other type of validations which are present. So then the next line is this process registered user request. So I will just click over here and then I will click over here, and you can see now it has come on the abstract register page controller. Here we are just extracting the data from the form and then we are setting in the register data object. Okay, and then we are calling here the facade layer. So from the controller we are calling the facade layer, and you can see now the default customer facade API is called, and this is the register API. Okay, and then we have this service from the facade. What we are calling? We are calling the service layer. So this is the service. So let's see whether we have the debug in the service or not. So you can see we have already the debug point. Okay, so you can see now I am calling the service layer. So you can see now I am in the service. Then guys, over here guys, what we are doing, we are publishing the event. Firstly, we will initialize the event. What we are doing in the initialize event? In the initialize event, we are just setting multiple parameter, like what is the base store in which customer is doing the registration, what is the site ID, what is the customer object, we are setting the customer object, language, currency. These important parameters we are basically setting over here, and you will be doing the similar steps almost in your requirement as well. Okay, so you can see now I am in the publish event, and in the publish event, guys, you can see it is now initializing the multiple things. But the main thing is, guys, as soon as this publish event will be called, automatically you will see that our flow, that will basically come into this listener class. Okay, so I'm just doing the next line. Now you will see that listener will get called automatically. So listener is called automatically, as you can see over here, right? So you can see the listener is now called on a separate thread. Okay, so and here the on-site event method is called. So it means as soon as it basically sniffed the registry event, automatically this listener is called, and here we are writing our business logic. Okay, so in the business logic, what we are doing, guys, here you can see I am just creating one process, right? Process, what I am doing, I am basically calling one customer registration email process. Let's see whether we have any customer registration email process or not. Yes, we have. Why I am saying? Because this process has the same name which we are which we have written over here, right? So it identifies this, and then it is basically creating a process with this name. So this is the business process which we have already discussed in our separate video. So process has been created, then we are setting multiple parameters into the process model, and then we are starting the process. Once I am saying starting the process, starting process means multiple actions which are written, right? Multiple actions which are written in this process.xml, like first is generate customer registration email, then send email. These will start running. So that is the use of this. Okay, so I will just skip this part because we have already covered this in our separate video, so you can just refer that video. But my agenda was, guys, I wanted to show you one sample working example of event and event listener. So in the registration flow, in the forget password flow, right, or when we place an order, then order confirmation email flow, in such type of flows, guys, we use the why we use the event and event listener concept, because these are subsidiary tasks. These are not the main task. These are the subsidiary tasks which we want to be run on a separate thread apart from the main task. okay, in a loosely coupled environment. So in those such type of tasks, we basically use the event and event listener concept. So I hope guys this is clear to you. I have tried to, explain the example in a very simple way. I have tried to explain you where actually we use the event and event listener. For example, if I am saying order confirmation, okay, I will never use the event and event listener concept to save the order data into the database, but I will use the concept of event and event listener to send the order confirmation email to the customer. Okay, so I hope you understand what I am saying. Okay, now after doing this, guys, now it should be clear to you how the event and event listener works. So let's write some definition or points which we have now learned in this sample example. Okay, then guys, we will create one sample example from the scratch as well, where I will be creating one event class from the scratch, one event listener from the scratch, then how we can, what all XML mappings we have to do for event and event listener, and then we will be calling that event from some controller class. We will see that practical example as well. And guys, I have already uploaded the notes of this this topic on the Google Drive, so you can just refer to the notes, and I have just given the link of these notes in the comment section of this video. So you just have to click on the link which is there, given there in the comment section of this video, and you can download these important notes, right? So these will be very helpful for you. These have the notes plus the functionality or the sample example where we are using the event and event listener concept from the very scratch. So sample example code is also given over here, so you can just click on the link which is given in the comment section of this video. Okay, so what I was saying, so we can write events are useful for exchanging the information between loosely components, right? So what we did, we created one component for, let's say in our example, we created a component for sending the registration email to the customer. So what we did the registration, and then we basically pass the customer information to another component was registration email component, and then we basically there we use the event and event listener concept, right? So which is this, this is based on Spring Event Framework. And guys, you will see other interesting points or other interesting facts about the event and event listener in the notes, which I will not be covering in this session, but you can just refer the notes. There you will get the more in-depth explanation about this topic. Okay, so this is all about, so we have the events which can be published either locally, or if, even we can publish the events in the cluster nodes as well. That everything I have given you in the notes of this video, so you can refer the notes and you can see how you can use the concept of event and event listener in a cluster environment. Okay, so basically I can see now events are used in Hybris for the low priority tasks, like for sending the emails, or the tasks which take long time to run, like business process which has multiple actions defined. Okay, so that complete process will take a lot of time. So in that scenario we use a event and event listener concept, so that that process can be run on a separate thread. That is why we use the event and event listener concept. Okay, so we can see events are good to use when we want to push on the processing to another thread, right? So I hope this is going to be clear to you now. Okay, let's take one practical example where I have used the event and event listener concept. So what I will do, guys, I will, let's login functionality. during the login functionality during the login functionality, what is my requirement is that I have to call one event class. Maybe I will create one event. Okay, let's say that is hybris tube event, and I will create one corresponding listener as well. Hybris tube event listener. Okay, so I have created one event and one listener. Okay, and how I will be doing during the login, when the customer will click on the login button, at that time in the controller I will be calling the event. This listener will automatically sniff it, and then I will do a very simple logging in this listener class, so that I can just show you that if you instantiate the event from the controller, automatically the listener listens that event. So that is a very simple example I am going to take. Okay, so for that guys, what I will do, I need some changes in my controller class. I need to create one event class, and I need to create, one event listener as well. Okay, so what I will do, I will just download these all classes so that I can just integrate these. So I have, you can say, clicked over here, I have just downloaded this as well. Okay, and then I'm going to download this as well, and these are the corresponding changes, XML changes I have to do. Okay, so guys, just try to understand. You can also get these complete code files. You just have to click on the link which is given in the comment section of this video, and you can also get this complete functionality in your system as well. So this is a direct plugin functionality which you can integrate in your projects as well. Okay, so now guys, what I will do, I will just create one event class. So event class where I will be creating, so if you can see in the project explorer, we have this listener, right? So here only guys, I will be creating one event class. So how my event will look like, so I'm just pasting my event over here. So you can see this is the hybris tube event.java I have created. Okay, so what I will do, I will just copy this. Okay, and then I will just paste this, and then I will give its name as hybris tube, right, event listener. Okay, so this is the name. Okay, I will just cross check from our code as well. So you can see this is hybris tube event listener.java. Okay, so I will just create it, and then I will just write the logic over here inside this like this. Okay, so this is the basically the listener I have created. Here I have just called the on-site event, and here I'm just writing one log that yes, from the if you call the event, then this event listener will be called automatically. And what it is doing, it is waiting for this hybris tube event. So from somewhere I have to fire or throw this event only. Now I have to register this listener as a bean as well guys. So how you will register this listener as a bean? For that, you will open the training core spring.xml. So where is my training core spring.xml? It should be present in the resources, right? Then I have this training core spring.xml. Here I will register it as a bean. Okay, so how I will be registering it as a bean? So I will register it as a bean, something like this. So I will just copy it like this. Okay, like this. I will then take its path. Okay, this is the name, and then you know this is the name, hybris tube event listener. Okay, and then hybris tube event listener like this. I will just take its path as well. Okay, so this is the path, so I will change the same path over here as well, right? So like this I have used it. I will if you see this hybris tube event listener guys, it is extending the abstract event listener. Okay, this is very important. So every listener basically extends the abstract event listener. If you extend any bean with abstract event listener, then that becomes a listener class, and you have to override the own event method. Okay, so you can see now guys, hybris tube event listener, you can see now I am able to call it. Okay, so I will just remove this parent. Okay, I will just remove this property as well. So you can see I am removing these properties, and you can see now I have configured this as a bean. Okay, so guys, you can see I have now configured the bean like this. Okay, now what I will do, I will do the corresponding changes. Guys, what I have done till now, I have created the event, and event listener. So this is the event hybris tube event.java I have created. This is the listener. Okay, and this listener will be basically sniffing for this hybris tube event. Now I have to fire this event from somewhere. So how you will fire? Let's say the login flow. So this is the login page controller and this is the login API. From here, let's say I will be basically, calling this hybris tube event.java. Okay, so what I will do, guys, I will write a very simple logic. Maybe I can write like this. I can write like this. Okay, so this is the hybris tube event. Okay, so here what I am doing, as soon as I will come into login functionality, I will be basically creating one instance of hybris tube event. Okay, and then here you can see this is the instance hybris tube customer event, and then I'm publishing this event. Okay, so as soon as this event will be published, okay, as soon as this event will be published, right? So here you can see this is the name which we are passing in the argument. As soon as this event is published, we have the listener class hybris tube event listener, which will be basically sniffing this, and then we are printing the name, and this is which name? This is the name which we are passing here in the argument. So this will get printed. Okay, so I hope now it is clear to you how we are using the event and event listener concept. And guys, if you want, because I told you we are using the event and event listener concept in loosely coupled components. So if you want your this process to be run on a dedicated node, then what you have to do, guys, in your hybris tube event, right, in your hybris tube event you have to implement it with the cluster aware event interface as well. So generally, if you create a event, you have to extend it with the abstract event class, and listener with the abstract event listener, right, where you have to extend it. But if you have to run this your complete process, subsidiary process, on a separate thread, then you can basically implement it with cluster aware event interface, and then you can run this process on a separate thread. Okay, but for now, guys, I have done these changes. Now as soon as I will come into this login flow, right, this event should be called. Okay, this will be published. As soon as this is published, my flow should come into this event listener, and this method should be called. Okay, so what I will do now, guys, I will bring my server down. So you can see I'm bringing my server down by pressing the Control C. Okay, then I'm basically building my project. Okay, so why I'm by building my project? Because I have done the corresponding Java changes, right? So that is why I have to build my project. So as soon as my project is built, then I will bring my server up again, and then we will test our functionality. So let's wait for this build to get finished, then we will follow the next steps. So guys, now you can see build is successful. Now I will bring my server up in the debug mode. So this is the command to fire the, or to bring your server up in the debug mode, hybris server.bat debug. Okay, so you can see I am firing this command hybris server.bat debug, and you can see it is coming up on the port number 9001 and 9002. So it means I will be able to open my storefront on 9002 port. So in case you have done any customization in your local property file, your server will come up on a different port. So you have to basically see this log in your system. Okay, so this will take around 10 to 15 minutes for this server to come up. Then we will test our functionality, and we will see whether our sample example for testing the event and event listener will work or not work. Okay, so let's wait for this server to come up. So guys, now you can see server has started up. Right now what I will do, I will quickly start my Eclipse into the debug mode. For that, what I will do, I will just right click over here, debug as debug configurations, right, and then I will mention the port number. This is the port number which you have mentioned in your local.property file. In case you don't know how to start your server in the debug mode, you can watch our video. The link of video is given in the description box. as well as on the top right corner in card section. But you can see now I have launched my editor in the debug mode, right? And you can see this is 7% completed till now. In the side, what I will do, guys, I will I have refreshed the training storefront URL as well. Okay, this gonna take some time, so let's wait for the training storefront URL. Okay, and let's wait for my editor to be launched into the debug mode. Then we will, guys, test our functionality. So guys, now you can see my storefront is getting open, and if I just see the editor, you can see this is also coming up, or this is also getting launched into the debug mode, and it has now been launched. So what I will do, guys, I will just put some debug points, right? So you can see I have just put some debug points over here. Okay, we will see whether our flow is coming into it or no not. Then if this is the event, let's put some debug points over the event as well. So this is the event. Okay, and then we have the listener as well, so let's put one debug point over the listener as well. So I think now we are ready to do a fake login, and then we will see whether from this event automatically listener will be called or not. So guys, now you can see I'm just clicking on the login, and as soon as I click on the login, my flow is coming in the login page controller. As you can see, the flow has come into the login page controller, and this is the log which will get printed into the server logs. Let's see whether it is getting printed or not before publish event. So you will see that this log will be printed in the server log, because the other logs are also getting printed, so it will not be easy to see those logs. Okay, now here we are just instantiating the event. Okay, then basically we are basically publishing the event over here. So as soon as I click over here, you can see, guys, now my flow is automatically coming to the listener class. Okay, and this, you can say, this log will get printed. So it means now I fired the event from my controller class. I fired this event, Hybris tube event. As soon as this event is published, automatically listener basically sniffs this event, and as you can see, it will print this name, Hybris tube custom event. Okay, so guys, I hope this is clear to you how you can create an event and event listener class. So this will be very important for you. You will be using this concept very frequently in your project, but I have given you a very detailed overview of the event and event listener, where we should use the event and event listener, where we should not use the event and event listener concept. I have told you. If you want to study this concept in more depth, you can just download our notes. Okay, these notes are given in the Google Drive. You just have to click on the link which is given in the comment section of this video. So guys, I hope this video is informative for you. If you like this video, do share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching. Bye.